Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining again in our webinar series on kitchens, and got a fun one again today. The little bit of housekeeping. Boy, it's always beautiful every Saturday when I do a webinar. I should give webinars every day with these sunny skies looking out here in Michigan Valley through my windows. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about appliances, and this is really an interesting one. And we'll talk about all the difference. And what I'm going to try to do is going to talk about as much budget today as I am about the appliances, because everybody, as we go through, I've never met anybody, maybe once every 10 years, somebody that has an unlimited budget. So as we go through, I'm going to be putting some dollars to them, and you don't have to spend a ton of money to get a great appliance package. So we're going to go through a lot of that. A little bit of housekeeping. Again, we continue on next week, and we're going to take that kitchen that we did 2 weeks ago, and we're going to do an electrical plan, and then we're also going to do a lighting plan for it, and we're going to light that kitchen and talk about everything, how to effectively light a kitchen. We can do the best designs. I had the opportunity this week, had a very busy week, and I did a lot of design work for a finished basement in Chesterland, and having a lot of fun with the clients. And there was just so much lighting details that we can do and create interest. It's not just the functional, but we can go in there and we can do a lot of nice aesthetics and make it a real welcoming place. And you can do the same thing with the kitchen. So we'll do that. And then the second thing is all these webinars are free, and I love doing them and everything. You guys can help me out in one way, though, is can you maybe, and I'll send it after this webinar again, can you get into a house review for me and a Google review to build up my reviews on those sites is really helpful for me. So if you're enjoying this, that's the only payment I ask, if you wouldn't mind doing that, just to write a nice review. Okay, let's jump right in with appliances. Now, one of the things, what we're going to do today is we're going to discuss the different brands and price structures. We're going to understand refrigeration and their options, understand dishwashers and options, cooking, microwaves, and then miscellaneous appliances, and answer any questions that you do have. So one of the things that when I give my talks, I don't know how many of you out there, I've got several of you people today have heard me talk, but when I always get to the slide of a countertop refrigerator, I always tell a story, and I'll tell it very quickly here. There's a gentleman named Don that had me go down to North Canton, and I did his kitchen about 3 years ago. But when I went down there, they were probably in their mid 70s, and his wife was there. And I go there for the first day and introduce myself. And I say to them, I said, you know what? I don't want to talk about kitchens today. And the lady was shocked. You could see her mouth drop. And I said, we're not going to talk about kitchens. We're going to go shop for a car. And she looked at me like I was crazy. And so I explained myself. I said, you know what? When we go today and I take you shopping, are we going to go look for Hondas? Are we going to go to the BMW dealership? Are we going to go look for Mercedes? Where do you want me to take you? We can all get a nice car, with all these places, but where do you want to go and where do you want to invest your money today? It's the same with the appliances. Actually, it's the same with the whole project, cabinetry, appliances, countertops, things like that. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to invest in these things? And it's my job as a designer to be able to explain that to you. So now when we go to the first slide, look what I did. Okay, I tried to get as many American cars in there as anything, but I just went and took the major brands. Okay, I had a great meeting this week, again, doing everything virtually, but we went appliance shopping. I went appliance shopping, can you believe it, with a client this week. And we went in there and, virtually with the young lady who did a terrific job with us, but we went and explored cooktops and ovens and refrigerators, and we went to all these brands. And I kind of knew where the client's budget was, so I steered them in certain ways. So I just threw up some names here. Let's just go through before we jump into each particular appliance. Bosch, I've been guilty a lot of times of having Bosch on my forehead, tattooed on my forehead. I'm a Bosch guy. I think for the dollar, it's a terrific product. It's very well represented in Cleveland. I put that as a Toyota Camry in pricing. Fisher Paykel, a lot of people have not heard of that name. It's a New Zealand company. They were the first ones that brought the dishwasher drawers in 10, 15, 20 years ago. So they've always had that name for doing that. Now they've gotten into cooktops and ovens and refrigeration. KitchenAid, nothing need be said. KitchenAid's a terrific product for the dollar. It has a long-standing history name-wise. JennAir, again, put that middle of the road as a Chevy. JennAir, been around forever. I don't sell a lot of it because of Bosch, but it's always been known for the downdraft. I don't know how many of you people out there have that downdraft, that cooktop out there. That was always a JennAir. JennAir was known for that downdraft. Uline, anybody looking for under-counter refrigeration or under-counter wine units or ice makers, things like that. GE, missing the electric in after the General there, but the GE profile. General Electric has different series. General Electric for the dollar is a very good brand. Again, that would be more in the Camry pricing with the profile series. Sub-Zero, most of you people out there probably know that name. They're the very high-end refrigeration. I would categorize that as a Mercedes. Thermador, very, very good name, very good product. They do a lot with really nice refrigeration, cooking products, dishwashers, things like that. GE Monogram, that's a step up from the profile, more of a pro type series. Good product. I would put that in the Lexus. Scotsman, we have, that would be ice makers. Anybody, when we talk today, ice makers, are you going to want to put a separate ice maker in? Miele, terrific product, import, that would again be a high end. Wolf is a sister to Sub-Zero, again, Mercedes. When we break on the other side, we have the showrooms to go to. Sub-Zero, Wolf are out there, and they're represented by a company called Trevaro. And they have, you can go there, it's a multi-million-dollar facility in Parma, and they have some beautiful displays that have the Sub-Zero and Wolf in there. Dagmar's asked about Samsung and LG. Yep, there's a lot on here that I have not put. It would have taken 3 slides, all of them. Dagmar, with Samsung and LG, when we did our shopping for refrigeration this week, Kelsey, who sells all these appliances, spoke very highly of the Samsung and LG. So that they are very nice products for the counter depth refrigeration and freestanding refrigeration. Sharp for the microwave, beautiful product. Anybody wants that microwave drawer, Sharp does that. Zephyr and Best Buy Braun, we need to have hoods in the kitchen. So Zephyr and Best Buy Braun are 2 terrific products. You should be writing maybe some of these down as you go. I'll give it another 30 seconds, write a couple down, and so that you can get online, download catalogs and everything else. You probably don't know the Zephyr or the Best Buy Braun, but some of these other ones. So this is the range that I'm going to have as I'm talking, when I'm talking quality-wise and price-wise as I go through this, okay? So let's start with refrigeration. Now, there's basically going to be 4 different types of refrigeration, philosophically speaking. So the one on the left is the freestanding. We all know freestanding, okay? We've grown up with it. Basically, it's always been about 30 to 33 inches deep. It's been about when we were younger, I would say 66 to 69 inches high. And it used to either be side by side or the freezer on top. Now what's happening is they're going, and I would say probably 80 to 90% of the freestanding or the counter depth refrigerators are going to be a French door, which is what you're seeing here. So you're taking that freezer now, putting it on the bottom, being able to roll it out. So now with a freestanding refrigerator still today, okay, we're going to be talking that it's going to be 30 to 33 inches with the door, and the handles, you're probably going to be about 36 inches into the room. So it's going to stick out. Now, one of the ways, if you remember way back, the first, when I was showing stuff earlier, you can take a refrigerator. Actually, this was in my class when I talked to them last week. But you can take, and I can pull a pantry forward or end panels forward, and I can make it look like it is going to be counter depth. So if you go look now on the right, they both look like the same units the way they are there. But if you look on the right, you notice now a countertop is 24 inches deep. All you see is the door, and the door is about 3 inches. Now, these things, the counter depth is basically everything it is on the left. But now all of a sudden, we can make it look much more built in. And it still slides out on wheels and everything to clean and all that. So you still get that. You will be down in your cubic footage on that refrigerator. So that refrigerator now is going to be about 21 to 23 cubic feet for the counter depth. Now, you can't just go and say, okay, look at these things and say, okay, I've got 23 cubic feet, or I got 21, or I got 24. You need to understand where the split is, because what's happening is the split could be more freezer, less refrigerator. So you want to make sure. Now, one of the unique things here on this one on the right, this counter depth, look at that drawer, that added drawer. When we open up all these units today, they're basically going to have a deli drawer behind those doors right above the freezer. Most all the units are going to have that. What's happening now is they give you that opportunity with some of these brands to go and have that deli drawer actually be on the outside, so you're not opening that refrigerator all the time. It doesn't have to be for deli items, it could be for other items and things like that. So that's the counter depth. Now let's talk price wise. I would say that you're going to be between, you can get some pretty fancy units, but let's say the average unit, when we did our shopping this week, we were between, I think LG was the least expensive, or Samsung was around 1,700 bucks for a counter depth. But then you're going to go up to about $3,300 to $3,600. So that's going to be your range. Now, something else you got to be careful about. Let's say you're working in a tighter space. What these manufacturers are doing is they're going and saying, okay, let's maximize the cubic footage. Well, if it's a counter depth, they know they can't go deeper than 24 inches. So what's happening is, and they can't go much taller than they are at 70. So what they're going to do is they're going to start bowing out the doors. Instead of having them be flat, they're going to bow them out and get you thicker insides, more space to put gallons of milk and everything on the doors. Now, the only negative to that is me as a designer, it's defeating the purpose of going from a freestanding to a counter depth, because it's still going to stick way out into the room with those doors. So that's, again, something that you want to be aware of when you start looking at this stuff. Okay. The other negative, okay, the only other negative to these units is going to be, again, there's a lot of positives, but when I start talking about the appliance family, you can get a great package for anywhere, if you need all new appliances, let's say 6,000 to 12,000 bucks. And so what happens is they're made to last no more than 10 years. This is not like the old world where our KitchenAid dishwasher's going 30 years strong. It's not that world today anymore. You're lucky you're going to get a probably, I would say, 10 to 12 years at best. The other thing that I'm not a big proponent of in these things is the ice and water in the doors. A job I just finished in Strongsville, they had bought a new refrigerator because theirs broke before we started the kitchen. And even when I started talking to them in the design phase, the doggone ice and water were broken. And, you know, what they wanted to replace it, they said, you know what, heck with it. We're just going to live with it. So that's something else to think about. Okay, now let's leave that freestanding world and let's go into built-in units. Okay, on the left, we have a built-in refrigerator. This is pretty much what we've been accustomed to over the years. That happens to be a 48-inch model with the freezer on the left, the refrigerator on the right. What's happening now, you notice it's 24 inches deep, and you go and it's 84 inches high. When we go into the built-ins, they have dual compressors. So what does that mean? That means now you're going to have a separate unit, unit for the freezer and a separate unit for the refrigerator. Much more energy efficient. Also, you're not going to get carryover with odors and things like that. A lot of these built-in refrigerators too today, Sub-Zero for sure, they have a scrubbing agent that scrubs the air. It's the same system that they use on the space shuttles. So now all of a sudden we go to Costco, we go here, we go there, and then all of a sudden, hey, we got to eat these up. They give you a 5 or 8 pound bag of Brussels sprouts and you got to eat it before they go bad. Now all of a sudden you get into this world here, you could go 2-3 weeks on your vegetables and not have to worry about the freshness and everything. So there's a lot of advantages to going to the built-ins. This is actually built in, screwed in, can't move it. To clean it and everything, that top lever flips up, you can vacuum it out, things like that. So that's built-in refrigeration. Now, we go to the right. This is a term we're going to be seeing some of today. It's a very important term where it is called integration. If I were to shut that door and we didn't have the ice and water there, you would not know you have a refrigerator. It looks like a pantry, a tall unit. So that is something that's out there, and I do a lot of that with my modern kitchens where they want that clean look. I don't do that institutional look on the left as much anymore. That's the old-fashioned way of doing the built-in, and there's another option that Sub-Zero offers and in between called a flush inset, where it can almost get to that point of integration, but not quite. I'm not going to delve into that today. That'd be something down the road if anybody has a question or visit Trevaro on. So that's integration. Now all of a sudden, well, I'll get through the rest of it and then I'll talk pricing. Now we have something very interesting. I just put this in over right before the shutdown. Those are columns. See, that's also integration. See what I mean? Look how nice that looks. I have no idea. If I didn't know, okay, that kitchen, I would not have known that that was refrigeration. That looks like pantries to me. But what's happening now is you can buy your refrigeration a la carte. What does that mean? Those are two 24-inch units. So one of those is a freezer, one of those is a refrigerator. Now, the nice thing, number one, is we can put the freezer on what side and we can put the refrigerator on what side we want, depending on the access. We can hinge them both the same way. So we have all that flexibility. But the next thing is going to be they come in different sizes. Anywhere from 18 to 30 inches. Some of them, they have some columns that are that we can get that would be up to 36 inches wide. So now all of a sudden, the one I just put in was 30-inch for the refrigerator and 20 for the freezer. So we can go ahead and we can split that kind of stuff. Now what's coming in, and let's talk pricing. Okay, to go into a built-in, that one on the left is going to be, I'm guessing, that's probably about a $12,000-$13,000 unit, that 48-inch. To go into these integration models and columns, you're probably going to be, and that that was a Sub-Zero price I was talking about. And then you can get into these columns. Those things could be maybe $5,000 to $7,000 a piece. So do you see we started 4 slides ago at $1,600 to $3,500, and now we're talking in the world of maybe $10,000 to $15,000 in refrigeration. Do you now see when I talked to Don and his wife up front and said, let's go car shopping? Do you see now why I wanted to know in the back of my mind where their thoughts are? Are they going to say, you know what, John, we want a nice kitchen. We don't need to spend all the money in the world. Can we just go this direction? Or, you know what, this is the last time we're doing this. We want to get what we want. So that's why it's smart that I know up front when I start interviewing people. Okay, so that's refrigeration from a standpoint of columns, built-ins, integration, counter depth, things like that. Then all of a sudden, let's go into have a little fun here with wine. We can now go, this is very popular. I would say probably, this actually, when I was doing the basement this week in Chesterland, they wanted a little under-counter wine refrigerator. Now there's a couple different ways. You notice, remember up front in those names, I had Uline in there, and then I had also the Sub-Zero. You can go and put in a wine refrigerator, which can basically be a piece of glass with some rollout shelves, and let's call it a day and don't spend a ton of money and you've got a wine refrigerator. Or you can say, John, you know what? I'm more of a connoisseur into the wines and things like that. I'll spend a little more money. And one thing that's important to me is a dual zone. I want to be able to have my reds and whites at different temperatures. Then all of a sudden you go into the family, you know, up the ladder a little bit, and you go into the family of the Sub-Zeros. And Uline also has a dual zone 24-inch. When you go down, some people don't want to go the widths of the 24-inch for the wine. They want them down in the 15 to 18-inch models. You're going to be hard pressed. I don't know of one out there that is a dual zone. They're usually single zones then. So you're going to want to do that. The other thing too we can do with this is we can have a glass front and put a wood frame around it, make it decorative, or we could just make it solid if we don't want to show off the wines and things like that. They also come in tall units. Sub-Zero has a tall unit, you know, if you really want a lot of wine. So we can do that. They have a tall unit column that could fit beautifully on the left. You could go and spread. You could go and spread that column and then do an 18-inch wine in the middle, tall column there. And, you know, so that's something you can do. Under counter refrigeration. Okay, now this is really popular. So if we're doing a kitchen and all of a sudden we say, you know what, we don't, John, come on, I'm not going to spend $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 for refrigeration. And my counter depth is perfect for my size kitchen. But you know what, is there any other outlet that I have that I can do for refrigeration? You bet. What about the under counter over here on the left? And you don't have to, this normally, if people are doing an under counter refrigerator, they're not normally going to put a glass front on it because the people don't want to see the catch up and the, you know, whatever's in there. But what they'll do is they'll make that solid, and now all of a sudden they have an extra refrigerator underneath that they could be putting beverages or lettuce or, you know, anything else that could go underneath there, and that could act as a secondary spot. And then the other thing too, if let's say if you're knocking out walls and things like that and we're increasing the size of the kitchen, you don't have a full walk to the refrigerator every time. You know, so that's another opportunity and advantage. And those things are probably, I guess, $2,000 to $3,000. Don't quote me on pricing. I mean, that's why I have the people that I go to, you know, and get quotes. But I'm going to be in the ball game with this stuff. And then if we go over to the right, we can now go with different sizes, and we could do drawers. The drawers, you're probably going to, Sub-Zero's a leader in that. There's some out there that also do it. I think GE might do it. You're probably going to be in the 2,500 to 5,000 range for that. But now all of a sudden we could do drawers. Those could be freezer drawers. They could be refrigerator drawers, you know. When Dagmar was asking about Samsung, I think Samsung is the one that has it, but Samsung, one of them have a freestanding refrigerator with 4 doors, 2 French doors on the top, 2 doors on the bottom, and one of the doors is convertible that can be converted to freezer or refrigeration depending on what your needs are that week, you know, so that's interesting. Okay, enough of refrigeration. Dishwashers. We want to stack for quietness, and we want to stack. This is why people buy them. We want to be able to buy them for stackability and quietness. Dishwasher drawers, we talked about, we'll show you those. Integrated dishwashers, certain features, what do we want on features? Raising a dishwasher, I do a lot of that. That's something that's interesting. And then I'm going to talk about the situation with inset cabinetry. Do we remember from day one? I'll talk about that right now. Do we remember from day one where we talked that when you guys go out and start your shopping process, are you going to go out buying the framed inset cabinetry or the frameless? When you do frameless cabinetry, it's going to be, the box is going to be 24 inches plus a 3/4 inch door. When you buy inset cabinetry, your total is going to be 24 inches. So you want to make sure if you're paneling a dishwasher and you're going framed inset, you want to make sure that your dishwasher is not 24 inches plus the door. You want to make sure you're getting a model like the Europeans. You won't have an issue with because they're a little bit shorter in depth. So what you want to make sure is that your inset cabinet, when you put that wood frame on there, is going to line up like you see on the left. When that door shuts, that's frameless, but when that door shuts, okay, that door lines up with the rest of the cabinetry. One thing also about the cabinetry, if anybody was thinking the European cabinetry is not 24 inches deep. It's a little bit less because it's metric. And then what we do is we put a 2x4 behind and back and build it out. So what that means is that your European dishwashers generally aren't as deep because they follow, in Europe, they go with the shallower sizes. They don't, pull them forward to the American 24. Okay, now we're going to talk about the drawers. These are interesting. These are for, again, Fisher-Paykel's a leader. Usually people go Fisher-Paykel. The only really glitch on that over the years was the stackability of being able to do a nice stacking job in the drawers versus on the left. And Fisher-Paykel just re-engineered it a couple of years ago, and it's much better. But this is really nice for empty nesters or maybe just for a couple that's not going to have kids, things like that. So now what we can do is we can go and have a dishwasher. Let's say if you're alone, just two of you at home or whatever, you don't have to run a full dishwasher and full cycle, and it's much more energy efficient just to basically run a drawer as opposed to having to run both drawers. And maybe if you're entertaining, you'll have both drawers, but you could just run one drawer at a time. The other thing you can do is you can split them. And this is really nice about you can split this stuff. So now all of a sudden, I just finished a project in Hudson, and we did the kitchen, but we also did a bar, a wet bar. And so we went and put one single dishwasher drawer in that bar. Or if you're in a kitchen, you have a bad back, you can go and put one drawer to the left, one drawer to the right. So you can split them. Again, where do you want your dollars to be? My favorite two brands of dishwashers, I'll tell you flat out, make it easy for you. Bosch is a great dishwasher. It's so quiet, they even have a laser that points to the floor when it's running, so you know your dishwasher's running. It's that quiet, you don't know. And Miele. And Miele is an absolutely terrific dishwasher. So between those two, Miele even has a knock-knock. You don't even put hardware on it if you don't want to. It has a knock-knock feature where you just touch it, tap it, and the dishwasher opens for you. And they have a lot of unique cycles and things like that. So that's the drawers. If you have the space that allows it, you can raise the dishwasher. If you're okay losing that counter space above, you can raise that dishwasher so as you don't bend over. If you guys wanted to go on my website, you'll see that Hudson kitchen. I've been doing this a little while with the experiences. I tore a kitchen out that I did 25 years ago and redid it this year. First time I ever did that. But when 25 years ago, I went and raised the dishwasher up, I raised it again. They said, John, for sure, you're going to raise it back up. So it got raised back up. So that would be it there. Nice. You don't have to bend over. I'd probably do that maybe once or twice a year. Microwaves. Excuse me. I don't do a lot of microwaves anymore. Microwaves, if I had a graph chart, okay, showing microwaves, it's been nosediving for the last, I would say probably 5 years. And even 5 years ago, what people were saying, you know what, John, I just don't like the look of it. I don't like the look of it on the countertop. I don't like the look. Can you help me here? So people started shifting away. I'm not saying don't put a microwave in. People are probably still putting them into about 25% of my kitchens. And there's something that's replaced it, by the way, that we're going to talk about in a minute. And it's not like you don't have a microwave or that feature in the kitchen. There's something else. But what's happened over the last several years is it started out where I remember my mother, okay, God bless her, she's raised 10 kids. And as soon as everybody was up and not in diapers and things like that, she said, you know what? She was a home economics major. She said, Euclid, Ohio, born and bred. She said, you know what? I'm going to get a job. And so she went, and microwaves were just coming out, and she got a job at J.C. Penney at Richmond Mall, selling demonstrating the Panasonic Genius microwave. I don't know if any of you guys ever had one, but that was supposed to be the end all of all cooking. You know, it was a monster. It was a tank, but it was supposed to be the convection microwave, all this kind of stuff. And so that was going to revolutionize everything. And then all of a sudden, what happens is it started getting smaller, 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 and people saying, you know what, we're not going that direction, but we need stuff to heat things up and do this and do that. And so that's when microwaves became smaller. And then all of a sudden, 5 years ago, you guys said, you know what, John, can we put it into the walk-in pantry, or can we put it behind doors? Because we're just not using it as often. And that's where I'm getting today more and more. And people don't like the look. Okay, so what do? Here's the way it was. And here's the way it is sometimes too for me too. If somebody has a walk-in pantry, you just put it in there. Okay. The one thing you absolutely want to make sure if we're going to do it in the kitchen is let's get it off the countertop, number one. And if we build it in on a shelf, let's not just throw it on a shelf. Why don't we take a pantry or something and put the microwave there on the right and put a trim kit around it. See how nice that looks? So now all of a sudden we can go and we can do that. One thing, I'm looking at that slide, my thoughts going somewhere else as I'm talking about that trim kit. You notice it's white. White's not very popular for an appliance in a kitchen. There was a lady, and I remember this was about 20 years ago, and bless her soul, she passed away of cancer probably about 15 years ago. I think she had cancer when I did the kitchen, and the husband was doing the kitchen for her, and knowing that he wanted her to have that kitchen. But I'll never forget, she called me. I said, don't put white appliances in. She said, John, I want white. I said, really, Candy? I said, I would not do the white because none of the whites are going to match. And she said, John, I want the white. And we get the white. We're unpacking it. I get a phone call from her. She said, I hate to say it, John, but you were right. And I'm in tears. I don't like the white. Do I have to have it? And I will do a nice shout out to Bloom Brothers, who always has helped me through issues like this. And they took it back, and we put in a stainless one for her. But you don't, I would shy away from the white because the whites aren't going to match and things like that. Okay. Cooking. They're also, Sharp has that microwave drawer, which is really nice. And I may have it in here in cooking. If not, you can just Google it for that, to put the microwave down below. Give you an idea on microwaves. Let me just go back 1 second. One thing I do also, if you go on my website, when I do a trim kit, I don't normally put it into a pantry like that. I mean, like a linen cabinet, pantry type cabinet. I go and put it into a wall cabinet. And GE has a PEM 31, PEM 31, couple $100. But the nice thing about it, it's only wall cabinet depth. So if you go look at through my gallery, you're going to see a lot of examples of me when I do a microwave, and they want a microwave in the kitchen, is to put that GE PEM 31 with the trim kit, and you'll see it in a wall cabinet, and it's only 12 inches deep. Okay, cooking. What we have on the right is Old Faithful. And what I mean by Old Faithful is we probably all grew up with this. Basically, it is a freestanding range, 30 inches wide. Actually, you know what? If you go back far enough, I don't remember it per se. Actually, I do as a kid. They were 40 inches wide, not 30. And they actually had an oven and a half. But over the last 30 years, they've been 30 inches wide. And they've been 4 burners on top. You have your oven, you have your drawer on the bottom to house your cookie sheets and things like that, and all your controls were on top. Okay, so that was Old Faithful. Then we come over in the last 15 years or so, and we say, you know what, John, do we have to have that clunky look? Can I get the same thing And can I get it where it looks much sleeker? Because you know what? I want to put that hood now behind the range. I want to have it more of an aesthetically pleasing atmosphere. Yes, you can. This is called a slide in. Now, one thing I have to make you aware of, what the slide in does, it actually lips over your countertop. A freestanding, if you look on the right, do you see the gap? And if you guys have that now, you know that crumbs and overflow can get down there and create a hassle. So the slide in overlaps, the freestanding doesn't. You're going to go online, and when you start looking, like if you go into KitchenAid or GE, you are going to see some freestanding cooking that does not look like Old Faithful. They've gone and made it look like the slide in, but it doesn't overlap. That's the key difference. So it's going to look clean, but it's not going to overlap. So that's what it's going to mean when you see that freestanding and it looks like that slide in. Now, a couple of other things that we can do here with the slide in. Do you notice that those drawers, I took a guess when I said that that drawer is for storage for trays and things like that. A lot of units today have a warming drawer down below there, where that is actually a warming drawer. And we'll talk about warming drawers in a moment. Some of these units also will go, I think it's KitchenAid, they will take a unit and they will put that drawer on the top and have it as a secondary little oven. So that's an advantage. So the big first, before you get to any of this, we have to decide in a kitchen, okay? Like when I interview my clients, first thing I say, do you want one oven or two? So that has to be the first thing. And where's your budget and things like that. So we could get a freestanding stove. I would think maybe Tappan or one of those areas, probably under $1,000. I think if you're going to want convection type of cooking, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and more upscale features, you're probably going to be in the $1,500 to $3,000 range. Anybody want pro style cooking? I don't know how good your memory is, but remember when we designed that kitchen? And I said to you guys, I said, it's not just the unit, but we have to deal with the venting and the makeup air and things like that. This is what they put in, not the 60-inch like you see on the right, but basically, you have pro style cooking when the knobs are on the front. You're going to see I have a cooktop, my favorite gas cooktop coming up. Wolf has a contemporary one where the controls are on the front, but that's not the case, or that's a one exception to the rule. But most of the times when you see the controls on the front, you're going to be going pro style. You're going to spend some money too. I bet that 60-inch range there that you see on the right is probably close to a $15,000 range. That cooktop on the left is probably, I would say it's probably about $5,000. But what happens now, and it has to be vented up. You don't downdraft these things, which we'll talk about venting in a bit. But now you're going to spend money on the hood. You're going to invest in this, and you're also going then to have to figure a way to commercially vent it outside. So as we look at these, now why do people buy these? Personally, I think the major reason people buy these a lot of times, and I know I'm stereotyping, but I would say probably 70 to 80% of the time they do it for the look, because they want that look. I don't put as many of them in today as I have done in the past. People want more of a cleaner, simpler look, and they want the flexibility with the ovens and everything. But some of the advantages of this is, again, the quality of the product. This is a Wolf, these are Wolf units. But also, you notice that, look at the griddle, that one has a built-in griddle on the cooktop on the left. You can do these Dutch rings, you can do grills on them, you can do a lot of different things. And they also have much higher BTU output, which is how much heat they produce. A lot of these knobs and these burners produce. So that's pro style. Okay, so a lot of us aren't there. Do I talk it down? Absolutely not. Terrific product. Do you want more of that pro style type of cooking? Okay, so now all of a sudden we have to decide, do we want to put in one oven or two? And before I answer that, I think I'm going to jump ahead on you guys. Okay, let me jump ahead. Okay. There out there is a, let me see, I'll use this example. I'll use it with the ovens here, but there is out there, okay, they look very similar to an oven, but we can go and cook with steam or we can cook with speed. So you have out there the options, and the speed oven basically replaces the microwave. So we can go with a speed oven. That works on 3 powers. Basically, it looks like a microwave, bigger, little bigger cavity. But now all of a sudden, we can have a baked potato, restaurant quality, in about 7 minutes at about 1,500 bucks. You guys should be jumping after this, if whoever's in the serious market, to get going on their kitchens and YouTubing speed ovens. And I'll talk about the steam oven in a second. But Bosch puts it out, Miele puts it out, GE puts it out. So what we can have now is a single oven, like you see on the left, with a speed oven. That's what about 80% of the folks do, is they'll do one large single oven and they'll do a speed oven. Now, what does that speed oven do? It has 3 powers. It has microwave. Oh, by the way, there's our microwave. It has halogen lamp that's searing down, and it has the convection. Those 3 working in unison. It's all pre-programmed. So what you do is you go click a button, poultry, okay, and then you'll say skinless chicken breast, and then it'll say how many, 3, size, medium, bing, bang, done. All you do is turn it on, and then it cooks it for you, and it times it. It's going to cook it at least 60% quicker, 50 to 70% quicker in time. And then also what it's going to do is when you purchase it, this is important to know, some of these brands offer it in 110 and 220 in the power. So what's happening now is that you're going to go and you're going to have the opportunity to have you have to get more of a electricity up there if you're going to go with the 220 version. But what's going to happen is it's going to cook even quicker. So that's a speed oven. The second option, before you decide if you want 1 oven or 2 ovens, is to go and put in a steam oven. And a steam oven works basically with injecting steam and with convection with the fan in the back. If you really are going to use this kitchen and you really want to get into cooking, some really fine cooking in that, and if you do a lot of cooking with fish and everything, you're going to want to have a steam oven. Now, there's only one negative. Okay, we didn't break the bank with the speed oven. And the steam oven, though, you got to be prepared to spend about 4,000 bucks. But again, the thing with the steam and the thing with the speed, one thing I failed to mention on the speed, you will do 80 to 90% of your cooking, oven cooking, in that speed oven. That unit on the left, that big single oven, that's going to be a lot of times for holiday cookies and turkey and things like that. The steam, you will do a lot of your cooking in that steam. So then the question comes, well, if I'm doing 80 to 90% of my cooking in those units, do I really need to have 2 full ovens separate? And that's where somebody like me is there to guide you through and understand your cooking and all that kind of stuff. So that's where we come down to, do you want 1 oven or 2? And those are now the choices. So just reviewing on that, we have convection ovens, our typical ovens. Okay, we have our speed oven. We have our microwave. Okay, we have our steam, and we have our regular. So we have 4 options. Okay, actually the microwave's not really an option. I mean, it's an accessory. You would not replace something because just the microwave. Now, here's something interesting. It's another reason why I love Bosch. You may not have seen this before. you now have the opportunity to have a side swing oven. Remember that turkey I cooked last week? Beautiful, by the way, 25-pounder. Everybody chipped in with the cranberry sauce and the stuffing and everything. But lifting that 25-pound turkey out to baste it and check it and this and that, and to then take it out and put it in, it's heavy. You know, and as people get up in age, do you want to be bending over an oven, or do you want to reach over a door? So now what we can do is we can have a side swing. Bosch is really big in this, okay? GE, if you look up GE, they now have a French door. That adds about 500 bucks to the price. So to give you an idea on ovens, let's just say, because I've been throwing prices out on everything, a single oven, you're going to be, for a nice single oven, just average, good quality, let's call it 1,800 to 1,900 bucks. A good double oven, good, really good, you're going to be about 3 to 4 grand. Okay. Then all of a sudden, you add a side swing. I think that adds about 500 bucks to the price. So there's our side swing there. So that's the range in pricing on ovens. Now, as we move forward on these ovens, if we move into the Miele family, and if we move into the Wolf family, and if we move into the GE, which I'm going to talk about in a second, that French door oven from GE, we're now over 7,000-8,000 bucks on these ovens for double ovens. Do you want to be there? Up to you. How much cooking? How finesse? How, you know, we can easily spend 30 to 50 on these things, appliances, if we want, or do we want to stay in that $7,000 to $12,000 range? That's up to us. Okay, so that's a side swing. Now, if you go look at GE, there's not side swings out there. GE has a French door one they've just come out with, but the price, I think it's a GE monogram. The price tag's over 7,000 bucks because I shopped with that client on it this week. So that's a side swing. Now, what makes the other ovens so fancy and expensive than that? We have Bosch, which is in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. Wolf, you have a dual fan in the back, that convection fan. You have dual fan systems. You have Miele. There's some of their ovens inject steam back into it, you know, as you're cooking and things like that. So you can combine the cooktop and the oven. Very European. That's a 36-inch oven there, and we put it under a 36-inch cooktop. Modular cooktops, hobs, HOBSs. So notice that. Now all of a sudden with cooktops, we'll talk about cooktops in a moment here, but we can go in and we can actually separate. Let's say you want maybe one gas, you want a grill, you want maybe a steamer hob, it's a la carte. We can go, induction could be one. We can go and we can just put it together a la carte and have a cooktop made for us. Okay, on the right, there's my favorite cooktop on the market. And if you've heard me talk, you know I've promoted this. This is Wolf's. To give you an idea on a cooktop, Bosch has a terrific cooktop around, I think it's around 1,400 bucks. Thermador has a terrific cooktop, and they have a patent on their star system on their burners. What makes this one unique? Well, what I like about it is, first of all, I like the controls on the front. And what happens now is, by the controls on the front, you can see it's all great system. It's all just total spots for my burners and things like that. And that's 36 inches wide, by the way. But there's something that is really the nicest, fanciest of it. Look how the cooktop is flush and routed into the countertop. Okay. So that's something that's really nice. So that's Wolf. Now, when you look at gas, what you want to do is you want to look at the BTUs, like how high is a BTU burner? And you can see in the middle, that's a high BTU burner there. So that's going to give us anywhere, let's say 15 to 20,000 BTUs. About 19 to 20,000 is the highest I've seen in a residential cooktop like that. And then the other thing you're going to find in these cooktops is they're going to have simmer burners. So you have the opportunity to have a simmer burner if you're going to do a lot of sauces and cooking and, you know, with chocolates and sauces and things like that. So that would be a simmer burner to look at. They also notice that's a 5-burner cooktop. So there's a lot, most people go 36-inch 5-burner today. If you don't want to go gas, induction is basically replaced electric. Induction is incredible. So, and as far as trends go, I would say it's 50-50 now, people putting induction versus gas in there. But now all of a sudden we can go and, what is induction? It's a magnet, basically a magnetic field under the glass. And you put a pot on there that the magnet will stick to, and there's no heat created from this. The heat is generated from the pot, because then the molecules, because of that magnetic field, go 1,000,000 miles an hour, which cause the pan to heat up. So it's very energy efficient, very green, very nice. Induction, you're probably going to get a halfway induction, good induction cooktop, start around $2,000. You can go up, like Thermador, I think, has it, Miele has it, that now all the glass, you don't have to put them on those circles, all the glass is induction, and the computer figures out inside how much big the pots are, where they are, and things like that. But you will end up spending, probably starting around $4,000 to $6,000 for that. There's a double oven we talked about. Warming drawers. Okay. Warming drawers are popular as if people do a lot of entertaining, and you notice there that one has trays and everything else in it. The other thing is some of these warming drawers add as a slow cooker. I know Miele's does. So again, you can add an extra oven feature in there. But the basic concept of a warming drawer is it's a holdover area. Let's say when I was carving my turkey last week and I wanted to go on a bike ride before I ate, or in reality, what I actually did do that and drop my granddaughter off for turkey. But if I wanted to keep it warm for dinner and not set it in the refrigerator and reheat it, then I could have done that here and it would have held it over. And the nice thing about that is it will go and keep the humidity in the food. So it's not drying it out like a regular oven would. So that's really nice. So that's a warming drawer, and we can integrate that. Dishwashers we can integrate. Remember, integrate means you don't know if you have it. Warming drawer we can integrate. Miscellaneous appliances, okay, venting and hoods. We can either updraft or we can downdraft. Now notice that the new way of downdrafting from like 15, 20 years ago, what it used to be would be, it would be like if anybody has that Gen Air, it's actually sitting on the countertop, part of the unit. Now what they do is they have a pinnacle system, all these brands, where it raises up. And it raises up and it goes, and so now all of a sudden it's not fighting the gravity as much to getting that steam and grease and things like that. And then what happens there is you have removable grates where you can have charcoal filters and all that kind of stuff. Over on the right is an updraft. There's just hundreds of styles today that you can look at, but you know, that's more of a sleek, modern look. Like I said, I like Zephyr. I like the Brown. Check with your community if you're getting permits, which I highly recommend you get permits. But if you're over, it used to be over 600 CFMs. Okay, that's how much air gets moved out. Then you have to have a makeup air system. Now I see some communities are going to, 400 CFM. Okay, somebody had asked a question, and I'm going to ask them because I don't understand if they can type it better for me. It says style compared to non-pro style. I do not understand that. If you can just type whoever wrote that, and I'm happy to answer that question. Compactors, Dinosaur. Do I even include it anymore? Is anybody out there thinking of putting a compactor in? I might do that once a year, not even, maybe once every 2 years. But the compactor's out there for us. That I really don't have a good feel for pricing on. But you know, it's a nice unit. It's a nice unit style-wise and things like that, if you want to not be running your trash out all the time. Ice makers. Some people say, you know, John, I'm going to do a lot of entertaining. And what I want to do is I want to be able to have really that crystal clear ice for my liquor and things like that, plus the volume. I need more volume than what's going to happen in just a regular refrigerator. Then we can go into this. Scotsman's a leader in it, and they will give us that crystal clear ice. I actually had a lady, 20 years ago down in Hudson, and she had me put in a Scotsman because she had read, I don't know if there's any validity to it, but about the when you do regular, because of regular refrigerators, you get the carryover in food and odors and things like that. She said that the ice is not the healthiest, and she wanted to make sure she had crystal clear ice all the time. And the way these units work is they're actually melting the ice as they're making it. So there's a heater on the bottom that actually goes and does that, you know, heats and warms up the ice as you go. Okay. Okay, so that takes us to the end. If there's any questions, go ahead and type. That person did not. I don't understand that style compared to, you know, the other. But if anybody has any questions, please send them to me. You can call me. You can, you know, email me or send it right here now and be happy to answer it. If you guys can help me out with that, I'll send it again. If anybody wants to help me out with that, Google or House. And hopefully you're learning as you go. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, so I enjoy it. There's a lot to talk about with appliances, and I go and actually take my clients to the appliance stores and talk to the professionals in every little field. I skimmed over the surface. I could talk for hours on this stuff, but thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week, and we'll do lighting for the kitchen. Then after that, we hop into home offices and bathrooms. Okay, enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you. Bye-bye.